Welcome to the yoga portion of today's video. Today I am going to be sitting on my bolster on the floor as opposed to last time where I was in a chair. And I invite you to either sit on the floor or a chair, whatever location works the best for you. But today's yoga practice and meditation is centered on our root chakra, which is at the base of the spine. And this chakra connects us to the earth and connects us to our roots and those aspects of being grounded and feeling like we belong, those very basic human needs. So that's why I want to be on the floor today, because I'd like to feel like I'm a little more connected to the earth. But doing it in a chair is perfectly fine. So let's just begin by settling in, really feeling that tailbone connected to where we're seated, and find a comfortable seated position. And let's just begin wiggling and feeling loose and comfortable, just settling in. And then we're going to begin with some seated cat-cows, drawing the chest forward, arcing the back, and drawing the shoulders forward, rounding through the spine. Inhaling forward, exhaling back. And come back to neutral. Begin to do some circles. You can bring the shoulders into it, round and around. And then reverse our circle. Coming back to center. Bring the fingertips to the earth if you're seated, or down to your side if you're in a chair. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, arms down. We'll do this 5 times. And some shoulder shrugs. Bring the shoulders up to the ears. Hold and squeeze and release. And some shoulder circles. And reverse. And come back to neutral. Now I'm going to move into more traditional cat-cow on my hands and knees. But again, if you're in a chair, you can do them like we did at the beginning, seated. Make sure your hands making firm contact with the earth, and your elbows and wrists are directly beneath your shoulders. Your knees are about hip distance apart and nice and square. We're going to inhale up, exhale, rounding out. Extend that right leg out back, out behind, and the left arm out in front. And draw elbow to knee. One last one. And come back. We're going to do the other side. And I'm going to grab my bolster and put it here right in front of me. I'm going to start with my right side, and I'm going to bring that foot and knee between my hands and keep walking that the foot over to the left and bring yourself down to your bolster. We're modifying a little bit of a pigeon pose. And the back leg is straight back. Walk the hands down. Inhale back up. And if you feel comfortable, you can bring your elbows down to the earth and your head down and breathe here. And bringing the hands back to support yourself. Roll those toes of the back leg under and lift yourself up. Walking that foot back over and bring it around. Do the other side. And don't worry, if you can't do this move, this asana, I'm going to provide you an alternative. And walking the left foot over toward the right, keeping that foot flexed, bring the knee down, bring that back leg back as far as it will go. Bring the hands to support. Exhale down. Inhale up. This time we're going to come down, forearms. And the hands back underneath us to support. Curl those back toes under and lift. And bring that leg around. And here we are back here. Now if pigeon is too deep of a hip stretch for you, I'm going to invite you to get on your back. Take your right ankle, cross it at the top of your right knee, and gently press that knee away from you. This is a figure 4. If you want a little bit deeper hip stretch, lift the left leg off the floor, interlace your hands behind your thigh, and draw that to your chest. And release, bringing the foot back down, uncross. We'll do the other side. Gently press the thigh away from you with your left hand. And if you'd like, lift the right leg, interlace the hands, and draw that knee to the chest. And release, bring the foot to the floor, uncross, and come back to seated. Now this final position, I'm going to say is completely optional for you, depending on your hip flexibility, balance, and your strength. And this is Malasana. So what I'm going to do, I usually start this pose from standing, but I know that my camera angle is going to make that very difficult. So I think I'm going to try to get there seated. So I'm going to bring this foot up and this foot up, and your bottom can be a little bit in the air. I haven't done this one in a while, so let's see how well I do. And lower the tailbone toward the earth. Bring the hands into prayer. And the upper arms press against the inside of the knees. It's also been called Taylor's squat. And also bring your bolster between and give yourself a little more stability, a little more support. And then release. I like to bring the hands to the earth, lift the tailbone up, straighten the feet, and come to standing. And I'm not going to come all the way up to standing or you won't see me. Come to seated. And here in seated, we're just going to settle in. Lengthen the spine, keep the head nice and neutral, balanced over the shoulders. Now we'll prepare ourselves for our root chakra centered meditation. Let's begin our meditation seated with our tailbone and our sit bones firmly in contact with the floor or the chair. Begin to bring awareness to the space between your pubic bone and your tailbone. Find stability here, becoming aware of your connection to the earth beneath you. Begin to imagine roots reaching down from your body into the earth. Allow these roots to spread and continue to grow deeper through the topsoil, into the mycelium layer, down into the earth. As they extend deeper, they pass through the rocks and around tree roots. As your roots grow deeper and you begin to notice the sensation of warmth coming up through these roots from the earth's core. Draw this energy up into your body, centering it around your tailbone. See it as a small red wheel. It starts small and is spinning slowly. As you continue to absorb more heat and energy from deep in the earth, the wheel grows bigger and spins faster. Allow this energy to gently spread throughout your body. You are feeling a sense of groundedness and connection. You feel safe. You belong. Take time for this feeling to take root within you. Now that you feel grounded, begin to energetically withdraw your roots back into your spine, holding that earth energy within your body at the base of your spine. You have re-energized your root chakra, strengthening your connection to the earth and your place on it. You feel grounded and supported. You have a feeling of belonging. Now take 3 deep breaths. Bring your hands together and rub your palms together and gently cup them over your face as you slowly open your eyes. Begin bringing movement and awareness back into your body. This is the end of our meditation. So let's have some fun making some art. And again, I have gathered together some things that I thought might go with today's theme. And the white fabric is mainly my base fabric. And then I went through all my random fabrics, scraps here, and found a variety. I found some earth inspired fabrics, some browns and tans, and then of course a number of red fabrics. I of course have gotten out my box of threads, and I'm going to pick out a red one, a brown one, and one of these others may come into play as inspiration strikes, so we'll set those aside. My needles, and a pin cushion. I've also found some little red buttons in my button collection, and something that I'm not sure is going to get incorporated, but I grabbed it just in case, is this really pretty little purse that a friend gave me when they went to India. And I was like, that looks like chakra wheels to me, but I'm hesitant to cut it apart because it was a gift and it's really pretty, but I'll probably never carry it as a bag. So I'll see. But it does give me some inspiration. So I'll set it here as an inspiration piece, just out of my sight line. So I'm going to start with my base fabric. I think I'm just going to use a basic piece of white cloth. This is part of an old sheet. I forgot to warn you about this time about the ripping. And I'm just going to rip a rectangular-ish square. I think on top of that, let me put this linen. I'm going to let it overhang. And much like last week, I'm just going to choose different fabrics, different shapes, and see where my mind takes me. Here. I'm using a number 8 embroidery needle. I'm grabbing some of my red fabric. I thought it might be fun to make like a little yo-yo, or if you're in the UK, a Suffolk puff, I believe they're referred to. And I do have a set of these clover yo-yo makers. This is one of the smaller ones. And you put the fabric in here. Remember how it works. And snap it into place. And you stitch around. But I don't want to get that fancy today. I think what I'm going to do, I have this little tin of cookie cutters / biscuit cutters. And I was like, well, I could go looking for all kinds of circular plates and cups and saucers, which work perfectly fine, but I have this, so don't feel like it's something you have to go get. But remember that a Suffolk puff, you can call them yo-yos. Yo-yos, when you gather them into the center, are going to be, if my math is correct, half the size of the circle you started with. Correct me. Well, we'll find out in a minute here, won't we? So I'm going to see if any of my marking pencils have lead in them. They do not. That one doesn't. Yeah, these are supposed to have like little bits of chalk lead in them. So I'm going to go with this marking pen. I don't remember if it's an eraser. It's a water erasable. It doesn't matter. You can grab just an ink pen or a lead pencil. Draw a circle around this. Yeah, I can see that. And I'm actually going to use that as my, let me think here. Yeah, not going to. I was going to say I was going to use that as my stitching line, but since it's on the wrong side of the fabric, I'm just going to cut around there. You wouldn't have to make a yo-yo. You could make just a raw edge circle. I mean, you do whatever inspiration comes to you. So you could just take that on there and stitch it if you want. And I may end up doing that if I don't like the way this turns out. Got a pretty long piece because I'm going to double it. I've had that problem before. I have gotten to stitch a yo-yo and pulled it up and my thread broke. And that is a pretty strong thread that I'm using here, but you just, safe than sorry, that kind of thing. Usually I turn the raw edge under, but since the back side of this isn't going to show, I'm just going to stitch around. I'm going to come in about, I don't know, 1/4 to 1/8 of an inch, somewhere in that neighborhood, and just stitch a nice running stitch on the edge of this. It's kind of boring to watch, I suppose. Let's talk. So when we talk about being rooted, being grounded, what does that mean? Well, I was thinking about this before I was preparing, as I was preparing for this video, and I had a lot of different thoughts come to mind. But one that kept coming back to me was, as creative people, we tend to kind of live in a space more up in the upper body, the upper chakras, the heart, and the throat chakra is centered around, of course, our speech and our ways of expressing ourselves, our hands. And then as you move up into third eye and the crown, you get into divine inspiration, things like that. So, I mean, I think we can all agree that there's a little bit of a stereotype that creative people, artistic people, are maybe could be a little flighty, a little spacey, a little, not necessarily very practical sometimes. I know I feel that way. And I have been told that I was that way. So it is what it is. So being more grounded, being more in connection with the root, our root, helps us just do that all the way around and then gather it up. Helps keep us centered and keep us less being in touch with the root, with our centeredness, being more grounded. I mean, yes, it helps us be more in tune with the real world. and that kind of thing. And I think that's beneficial to artistic types. I don't know about you, but I'm just speaking from my own experiences here. Just, really all I'm here to share is how this kind of thing works in my life. But not only I've been accused of being a bit of an airhead sometimes, but I know when I am deep into a project, I often have a hard time pulling myself away for the more practical aspects of life, from remembering to eat and sometimes, going to bed. I stay up late at night continuing to stitch or knit or spin or sew, whatever it might be, or basic hygiene at times. I mean, come on, we're being honest here. It's just us friends, right? Do kind of. What if I did? Yeah, that might work. I'm going to set that aside for now because I'm not sure where it's going to go on here. Okay, back to what we were talking about. So getting a little more grounded and practicing that, I kind of like that. It's the solid edge, but it works for me. Helps me to stay balanced, stay, not too out there. And that's why meditations and yoga practices really help me. And I've been feeling ungrounded lately, right, for a while now, because I haven't been doing those practices. I haven't stayed balanced in my life. I'm not sure I want any really square edges here. Like that one. I think my brain can't do two things at once right now. It's, and the whole point here is to shut up and make art, right? And just as I spoke of last week, or 2 weeks ago, last Mindful Monday, for the in-bulk meditation and artwork, going outside, touching grass, as the kids say, is probably one of the best ways to stay grounded. Not this guy. Oh, I know what I'm going to do. Okay, so first I'm going to base this all down. Don't know if you can hear in the background the sound of trickling water. It is not atmospheric for this video. It's got a much more practical reason, which I guess we're talking about practicalities here. It got real cold here in the south last few days. I woke up this morning, it was 12 degrees Fahrenheit. And it's only about, I didn't check before I came in here, but about maybe, it's still in teens. That's all I know. And again, we're not made for that down here. I'm physically made for it because I didn't grow up down here, but our homes, our roads, our infrastructure, our plumbing, not necessarily made for weather in the teens. I don't know if I want this circle on top of the, I don't think I want it under. Yeah. Anyway, so I have a bathroom here off to the side. It's not the new bathroom, it's the old bathroom. And it is the only plumbing in my house that is on the outside wall. And I forgot to turn on the trickle last night before bed. So the first thing I did when I came in here, got up this morning, was to come in here and turn that tap on. And it had a moment of like a little bit of a cold water burp, as if there was maybe a chunk of ice in there somewhere. But it did start flowing. I haven't tried the shower yet, but hopefully, if the water's running to the sink. And that is the last winter we did have a little bit of a cold snap then as well, and that did freeze up one night. But it didn't freeze the point of pipes bursting or anything like that. It just, I had to put a little space heater and open the sink, the cabinet doors, and let it warm up a little bit in there, because I don't keep my thermostat particularly high in this house because I can't afford it. And it wouldn't matter anyway, to be honest. I could set it at 78 and it would take a lot to get it to that warm of a temperature when the weather outside is this frigid. So as an example, I set it at 62 when I go to bed and put a lot of quilts and blankets on my bed and cats. And when I got up this morning, after hearing it run all night long, the thermostat in the hall was still only at 60 degrees. It couldn't even maintain 62 overnight. So that's where we're at here in the southern states. And you may have seen, as I'm recording this, I think this is going to come out I'm trying to record ahead. So we'll be all warm and sunny and nice by the time the video actually comes out. But keeping it real with y'all, we did not get any snow here in Dallas County, Alabama. Well, I say none. Nothing that really would count. I went out at mid-afternoon and there were about 10 flakes on my porch and 15 on my car. So, yeah, and it didn't last very long. But oddly enough, south of us, further south on the Gulf, got, some snow, some like real measurable snow. And that doesn't happen very often. I know that I know people in New Orleans that were showing pictures of their snow. Yeah, I'm going to start here. And my little yo-yo is going to go on here, either this way or this way. But before I do that, I think I'm going to do something else. I want to add. So this is the size. No, which size? This is the size that I cut for that one. Go something smaller, even smaller than that. Oops. We're sticking together here. I don't want it to end up looking like the Japanese flag, and it won't. It's got enough other colors, but I see red circles. That's what I think of. So yeah, we've been dealing with some odd weather, but it almost always gets stupid cold at least once a season here in the South. And when I say stupid cold, my family up north in Chicagoland and mid-Michigan it's stupid cold up there. It's like, if they get into the teens midday right now, that would be quite a warm-up. So if you're up in that part of the world, or anywhere else that it gets that cold, Oh, yeah, been there, done that. And this guy. I think I like that. Now let's put some stitching on here before I put this guy on. Let's start with the red. So of course I saved my filming of this particular video until the coldest day of the year in the coldest room of my house. All right, I'm going to start. I'm feeling edging this. Well, and I didn't tack that one down because I added it, so we'll put a pin in there. Okay, why are we not going through here? Probably that linen. Okay. I'm going to do a blanket stitch around the edge of this red circle. Okay. I think I've mentioned in other videos, if you're new here, give you a little background. I grew up in the Midwest. I'm a Michigander by birth, and I don't know what I lived there for 25 years. What do Illinois people call themselves? Illini? Illinoisans? I don't know. But I lived in Illinois for actually most of my adulthood, but never felt like home to me. But that's not what we're talking about here. Actually, we kind of are, but well, we will be. I will be in a moment. So I always feel very rooted and connected to Michigan and to the Midwest in general, because that's where I grew up. It's where my family is. It's where my family was for many generations prior to my arrival. After they arrived here in North America. And so actually, speaking of feeling grounded and rooted, I have this big rock sitting here, and I don't know if I can make it wet enough that you can see. But speaking of Michigan, this is a big old hunk, at least this part right here, of Petoskey stone, which is the state rock of Michigan. And I found it on a trip there many, many years ago. There's even like a little shell there, because at one time, that part of the world was a large inland sea. It was all covered with water, and these are the fossilized remains of that prehistoric time. So this sits with me, and I turn to it when I need to feel grounded and maybe a little homesick. And I've just put a lot of that kind of energy into it, and it holds it for me. It holds a sense of home and belonging and that type of rootedness. But of course, I don't live there anymore. And like I said, Illinois never really felt much like home for a variety of reasons. Won't go into them here. But I live there and I raised my children there. So there's always, and I have friends there. So there will always be some connection there. And I did make a home and set down roots there. But now I live very far away from that. And it's pretty uncommon, I think. It's not as common, let's say. It's not uncommon, but it's not as common for us to stay in the same place that we were born and raised. So how do we feel connected? How do we feel at home? Especially if you're a person maybe in the military or a military spouse, or have a job that takes you many, many places. How do you feel grounded? How do you feel at home when you're not? When you've been uprooted, so to speak, and have no familial or ancestral connection to the place you find yourself. And that's, how I have felt since I've moved to the South. How do you navigate that situation? Well, doing practices like we did today can help you getting out, like I said in the last Mindful Monday, connecting with the earth through walking, sitting. I don't do a lot of sitting on the ground in my yard here because of a little thing called fire ants. They're little, but they're powerful, and I have a unusual amount. So anyway, again, I digress. But so I'd like you to, put in the comments. Do you live where you grew up? Did you stay in your hometown? Did you leave your hometown and go back again? And I get asked that quite often since moving here, because where I live here, there are a number of people who were born here, stayed here, still are here, raised their children here. And then there's people who left here and then came back. So I'm often asked, well, where's your hometown? Where'd you come from? And I always ask, well, do you want to know where I grew up, where I was born, or where I spent most of my life, or where I came from before I moved here? And I think that's kind of like I said, if you're a person who, by choice or by chance, have had to move around quite a bit, might apply to you as well. And so, because of course, living in Alabama and having a Midwestern accent, people pretty much know I'm not from here, I just live here. And yeah, so getting to know, I don't know what my point was. I guess my point is for you to comment in the comment section. How do you connect with where you are? Do you, I don't know. I've done a variety of things. Getting to know, quote unquote, the locals helps, because then you get to know the culture and the history. Of course, I live in a town that has a whole lot of American history in it, in its own good and bad ways. If you're not, well, I was going to say if you're not from the U.S., but even a lot of people in the U.S. don't know Selma's history. Pivotal moments in the civil rights movement of the 60s happened right here in my town. But prior to that, actually almost exactly 100 years prior to that, we of course had the American Civil War, and Selma was pretty much burnt to the ground and occupied by Union soldiers, all that fun stuff, say sarcastically. So, and then of course we have it's interesting to talk to people that do have the kind of roots here that I have back home, generations and generations, of maybe how they reconcile, perhaps, that history. I once again had a battery issue. It wasn't that the battery was dead. It was that the temperature of my camera got too high, which is ironic because it's cold. But anyhow. So I was talking about reconciling, maybe, our ancestors, their involvement in maybe not so pleasant aspects of our country's history. And that goes for my Black friends as well as white friends here in this part of the country. You know, my Black friends who have roots here, well, they know, and maybe are still quite often dealing with the generational trauma of how and why their ancestors were brought to this, not just this part of the country, but to this country overall. And then the white neighbors, well, if they've been here for generations and generations, then they have to reconcile that most likely, their ancestors were on the other side of that problem, that issue, that time in our history. And how do they handle that? And even in lived history, there are people here, although I haven't personally met anyone who's admitted to being on the other side of that bridge. And elsewhere, yelling racial epithets and other terrible, terrible things to the activists and the people here in this community, the Black people in this community. But they're probably out there somewhere, and maybe it's because of the circles I choose to surround myself with. Circles, hey, here we are, bringing it right back around. But anyhow, you know, we all have our stuff, but I'm trying to get my point back to roots. I guess the point is that our roots our family tree may have some diseased branches, may have some, roots that need to be not honored. And we may need to do some ancestor work, some of our own work on exploring some of that. But I think, in my own case, I honor the place that I came from. I go back and visit. I love it. And I love the people there. But I also have set down roots here. And it's beyond just buying a house and moving in, but being a part of the community, trying to make it a better place, trying to get to know the history, the good parts of history and the bad parts of history, and making it my home in whatever way, however that looks. Because the root chakra is also our place of belonging. It's our place that helps us feel like we're part of something, part of a group, part of a family, part of a community, whatever. And that's a feeling I have struggled with throughout at different times in my life, feeling a bit like an outsider, feeling like I don't belong, feeling, I don't know, even in a place like my hometown where I definitely, belong there, I guess, but not finding my niche. And so doing root chakra work and meditations has helped to get into that centered part of myself that helps me to feel connected and feel connected with myself, most importantly. And in the last time we were together, so we're talking about Bridget and her being a goddess of fertility, midwifery, and I spoke on how, as a crone, perhaps that is a feeling that we feel like maybe doesn't apply. But I have come, or as I said in that chit-chat time, making art, that fertility can apply to things other than the obvious. That we can find fertility in our creative process and in what we bring forth into the world, whatever form that takes. Well, the root chakra, obviously, might make sense from its location within our physical body, is tied to our sexuality, our reproductive organs, that kind of energy. And again, that can be a hot subject, a difficult subject for people to talk about publicly or privately. And of course, I'm not going to get into gender politics or anything like that, but it can also be a place of trauma for many people for a variety of reasons. And so centering yourself there can be difficult, can be perhaps triggering for some people. And I understand that. I get it. Voiceover Beth here. I'm coming in here to tell you that I have chosen to mute the next short section of this audio. My intention is to always offer a safe, creative space for my audience, and I felt that the tangent I went on here could be triggering to some people, and I wouldn't want to be hurtful or unkind. Thank you for understanding. You were to compare the root chakra to, say, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, then this is the base, the foundation. I don't like to use the word lower because that sounds judgy. Sounds like, but I guess he used the term hierarchy. It's not that they're less important. They're actually essential in order to be able to support the upper levels, upper layers of our being. We have to have this first lower level, right? Makes sense? And so this is, our foundations, feeling of safety, home, connectedness, and belonging. So we need this in order to rise to the next level. Chakras are, actually the word chakra in Sanskrit means wheel. But if we think of our spiral path, this is the beginning of the spiral. This is where it begins, and we spiral up from here. Sometimes we need to come back down into this part of the spiral, and it's just as important as any other aspect. All right, let's work down here a little bit. We've got our chakra, we've got our wheel working its way here. So, I think I should go back to talking about the weather. Brain is not being very philosophical this morning in any helpful way, I don't think. So, yeah. I don't want to talk about politics. So, sex, politics, and religion. Let's take those all off the table. And see where that gets us, right? The last time I talked about feather stitch and how it's one of my favorite stitches. And I don't know why it's one of my favorite stitches. I guess I just like the texture it gives and the way it looks. Here, I'm trying to make it look like, roots. Extending down. Some of you are probably happy that I don't have anything to say right now because I talk too much. And that could also be a are there things from your youth or your coming of age, childhood, what it might be, that we're always maybe even chastised for or told that you were too much of, you were too active, move too much. I think my grandmother would have called it squirrely. Or in my case, you just talk too much. And now I'm realizing that is from my undiagnosed ADHD. But yeah, were you told you daydream too much, or maybe you told you were too messy, or I don't know, too something. I feel like every child, as well intentioned as the parent may be, and maybe it didn't come from parents, maybe it came from siblings or school teachers or something like that. But I think all of us at some point in our life we're told we were too much. And this doesn't really have anything to do with the root chakra, because I can't make a coherent thought there. But in my attempts to not ramble and not make any sense, I'm going to talk about the fact that I ramble and don't make a lot of sense sometimes. Yeah, I don't know how many times the notes in my report card was, Beth talks in class too much. And again, somebody should have noticed that was a sign of some neurodivergencies, but I guess that in that era and that time we didn't, especially for girls. Didn't know it was a thing. Thought we could just shame it out of us, I guess. I don't know. Or discipline it out of us. And you don't need to share your personal childhood traumas with me or anyone else in the comments, but I just thought I'd share that little bit about myself. Like I said earlier, I've been trying to work ahead and plan, film, edit, even upload some of these videos in advance, because that was what was killing me in my channel in the past. Is I'd get behind, something would happen, and I'd have to miss I didn't even have an upload schedule. Who am I kidding? But the consistency wasn't there. So, but I also really like them to be timely, not like I said, right now we're in this cold snap, but by the time this video comes out, that will be hopefully long past us. But I do need to shift gears a bit, and I think I have 2 Thursday videos now. By the time this comes out, I have 2, as they say, in the can, ready to go. And so it's time for me to start working on the next one. And I have some ideas. I just haven't. But I want, in those videos, I would like to share with you like what I've been currently working on, if I don't have an actual in the moment project to show you. If I just have some things that I've done off camera, or some plans for what I want to do next. And I'd like those to be somewhat timely, somewhat in the moment, but I'll figure it out. Oops. This little sparkly purse is making me wish I had some shisha mirrors or sequins to add to these projects, but I don't. So, I don't. Maybe that's something I have to manifest. I'm not going to order any just for the sake of ordering them, but maybe I'll find some at the thrift store. Okay. My camera battery overheating is concerning. Am I going to be able to make any videos in July if my camera battery overheats in January? That's a good question. All right, I may come back and add more roots later to keep this video moving on. I'd like to fill this with just a whole bunch of roots. So if I do that off camera before I get this all edited, I'll show you. And I don't expect anybody to do the same thing I'm doing here. I don't like to use the word copy, because if you want to do exactly what I'm doing here, your own fabrics, then go for it. Just go this way with this button. I kind of like the gathers. I think it does. All right, that's good. I do not know. This is my second battery change, but I'm almost done. I'm going to have to be, because I don't know what's going on. It's never done that to me before. I'm going to take, I think, this bigger needle, I think it'll, oops. Yeah, so I'm so discombobulated today. I'm gonna trying to think how I want to. I was going to do this button where the threads come up through the holes and get tied in a knot, but I got a lot of thickness here to go through. Okay, let's get this on here and call it an afternoon. And I guess that's a good, sometimes the lessons, if you will. This is not about lessons, but it's the best word I can think of. Present themselves in the moment, and that sometimes you just got to go with what you're given. And today I wasn't given much of a sense of coherency, I guess. And I've been given a challenge with my camera battery keeping overheating on me. It's not even that it's dying from not having enough energy or charge. It's that it's getting overheated, and the camera itself is getting hot. So I don't know what that's all about. This next time I do this, I will have my phone positioned as well. So let's button on. Okay, there we go. So I have backup in case the main camera goes out. can. I think before I got distracted the last time, I was saying about yours doesn't need to look like mine or be anything even close. Just take the inspiration of what came to you during meditation. Just use the colors and the ideas and run with it. And maybe you're in a different place today. Maybe you're, even though if you did do the practice and did do the meditation, you're just not, this isn't clicking for you. And if that's the case, that's fine too. Work on whatever is inspiring you. Or whatever you want to set aside a half hour or however long. It's part of I know the videos are going to be close to an hour. I just can't make it less than that. Anyhow, use the time to serve you and your creative needs, your emotional needs, only do the yoga part and come back the next day and do the art part. Only maybe meditation isn't your jam. Skip that 5 minutes and just fast forward. I'm trying to put timestamps in the descriptions. So if you want to skip to a certain part, you can. I don't know how successful. I'll know after the last one, because the other one hasn't even come out yet. I'm filming this like a week before the other one is released. So I'll see if my timestamp action actually worked. And if it didn't, I'll figure out how to make it work. And hopefully you'll be able to skip to the parts you want to, if you want to. Helps me a lot if you watch the whole thing, but I understand. I skip on videos all the time. And actually, since I brought it up, on that note, how can you help me with this? Watching it. First and foremost, giving a like, giving a subscribe, sharing it with a friend. And those are, of course, the main ones. Comments help too. Any kind of engagement really does help any YouTube channel. So if you can do any of those things, if you feel so inclined, I would appreciate it immensely. I say that I didn't start this YouTube channel with, any expectations of reaching 10,000 followers or making money or, any of that stuff. But I would be a liar if I said that some of that doesn't. 10 million, can you imagine? Or 10,000? Even at this point, getting to 1,000 is going to be a day of celebration. But when you do dedicate a great deal of time to something, it'd be nice to get some positive feedback one way or the other. So now it sounds like I'm begging for engagement and subscribers and all this stuff, which I guess maybe I am, but not intentionally. I don't want to. If it sounds like that, it sounds like that. But okay, I'm going to call this week's done, maybe done for now. And that's the other thing. You don't need to worry that it's not done in the time that we're working together. Because what piece of art is done until maybe you sell it to somebody, if that's the kind of artist you are. But I got my creative juices going. I played with some colors that I don't often work with, and I am satisfied. I think I began to say, and I don't know if it was before the camera battery died or I got distracted, but the important thing is that if at least every other week you can set aside 30 minutes to sit here with me and make something. Well, I've said before, we're not trying to make something. We're just trying to play and have fun. So just sit and explore, maybe explore some ideas and some techniques that you have never tried before without any pressure that it has to, we're not spending a lot of money on materials. The expectations are low, and you may end up with something in the end that you want to do something with, that you may also just, it's like a low commitment exploration is the point I'm getting to. And there's no rules. You just come and sit with me and listen to me ramble and get your own materials out and have fun with it. Take the judgment away, take the pressure away, and just have fun. And see what comes out. See what comes out through your fingers as you're exploring what we're doing here together. So I'm going to thank you for being with me today. I hope you enjoyed this project, or this process. See, our vocabulary is so entrenched in making and doing and being. Oh, not even being, making and doing and producing, that I have a hard time remembering to use the proper language for this process. So I hope you enjoyed exploring this process with me today. And, if it inspires you to keep going on something else, great. That's wonderful. But just give yourself a little bit of time every week, every couple of weeks, to sit down with your stuff and put it together and see what comes out. All right. Thanks for being with me. I really appreciate your time, and I hope to see you back here next Thursday. I have a video coming out. It's more of the project-based, creative, showing off, show and tell, vloggy kind of stuff. So I hope you come and check that out. And if not, if this is where you're at with me, awesome. I love it. And I hope to see you back here in 2 weeks on Monday. And we'll explore the next chakra in the system. So see you then, I hope. Thanks for being with me. Love you lots. Bye.